Y'all, I am so excited because we just pressed record and I have my very good friend, Amanda Baudier, is on the show today. And she is someone that I've known forever and someone that I've been wanting to have on the podcast for a very long time. She is my girl. We go way back in New York City, which we will discuss. But she has also been my girl and a good friend around the coaching industry and entrepreneurship and putting yourself out there and the wild world of all that goes on. So I'm so happy you're here, Amanda.
I am so happy to be here. And before we hopped on, I was thinking, wow, it is such a flex to know people in real life. When you're like, wait, we don't just know each other from the internet. Like we know each other from the real world. It's
We
it's a
do.
rare thing these days.
We do.
Yeah.
So, for the people listening, tell us a little about yourself. And I think I even said your name wrong, Baudier.
Baudier, but it's fine.
Something. Okay. I do know her. I swear I know her. But
She knew me before I was married.
that's why.
She's known me so long. She knew me by my maiden name. So
Exactly.
it's fine.
So give us a little gist. If someone is popping in on this podcast, tell us a little about yourself and your background, which is quite extensive, but tell us.
Yeah, I've reached the age where I do have to synopsize my my background because I've been on this planet for over 40 years now. Currently, my current iteration is as a whole person executive coach. I run my own coaching practice. I also host a podcast that works with entrepreneurs and leaders at the intersection of business and well-being. So I am primarily an executive coach, meaning that I focus on the business aspect of people. But because everything comes up when you are running a business or leading a business, that is where the quote unquote whole person stuff comes in. So I'm trained in somatic experiencing, mindfulness, meditation, yoga therapy, nutrition, all kinds of things that help leaders and entrepreneurs not lose their shit when shit hits the fan, because it always does. I've had many lifetimes before that. When even I met, I was working at Tao Group, which is a large
Hey.
nightlife and hospitality company. And I was there for 12 years and worked my way up the ranks from intern to managing partner, where I led sales, marketing, promotions, all kinds of shit to the point of extreme burnout, which occurred just about 11 years ago
Wow.
today. It was Memorial Day weekend of 2013 when I got my heart surgery as a result of extreme burnout. So I come by this work really honestly, both in terms of business experience and also having completely been destroyed by a lack of work-life balance. I guess the only thing I'll pepper into the middle, after my extreme burnout, I did not go directly into coaching. I had about 8 more years in the corporate world where I was working more on the corporate side of wellness. So as a VP at Sakara Life and then the GM at Melissa Wood Health. And I also squeezed in my executive coaching certification at NYU during that time. So that's
Woo.
me in a nutshell.
So cool. Yes. So, behind the scenes, Amanda has been someone who I have like looked up to in the coaching world and the wellness world, especially, which we will talk about today, how you got into coaching as a natural progression of things. It
Yeah.
wasn't like, oh, my life sucks. It's not working. I can't find a job I like. I don't know how to do anything. So I should be a coach, which is what we kind
Yeah.
of see a lot of nowadays.
Yeah.
And so, because of your extensive experience in wellness, in business building, in executive roles, you naturally moved into coaching. And that was after learning coaching at NYU and so many different trainings and practices that you have continued to study in. So that's one of the reasons I was so excited to have you on today. So we will get into that. But yes, Amanda and I know each other. I worked at Marquee and Lavo in the end. Oh my God.
I
And
know.
so I wore a bustier and I was drunk many nights. I was yelling at men. I mean, I had a flashlight. I would kick people out on the radio, like, get security. This man is looking at me sideways. I mean, there was more to it than that, but we worked in the wild world of
Wild world.
nightlife.
It was a wild world.
Yes. And I remember that there was definitely other people who were into wellness, but we were both like doing yoga and learning about kind of like wellness, because some
Yeah,
people just drank Red Bull and were not interested in yoga or wellness.
totally, totally,
That was something that you and I have always connected on, even back in the day, staying up
totally.
till 4, 5, 6 in the morning.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Here we are.
We are OGs.
God, oh, geez, is right. Exactly. Yes. Which also, it's helpful to be OG and over 40 when you kind of see BS, or you see people saying things publicly online, or you see celebrities, because like, especially once you get older, you're like, I've seen some stuff and things
Yeah,
don't always pan out, or you
yeah.
start to listen to your own intuition in a different way once you're
Yeah.
old.
Yeah. And I will also say there is something to be said for having come of age before social media and the
Yeah.
internet. And something I learned when I was, because at Tao Group, I was a young executive. I was like the youngest person in a senior leadership role. And then I came to
Mm,
Sakara, and all the leaders were about my age. We were like mid to late 30s, but a lot of the people that I worked with were girls, women in, 22 to 28, let's say.
mhm.
And I was shocked that they believed influencers and celebrities, because I had been throwing parties for celebrities since I basically came out of the womb. And so I knew it was all smoke and mirrors. I knew it was all bullshit. I knew what you read in page 6 or saw on whatever, because there was no social media then, was totally fabricated. And it was a picture that was being painted for a marketing purpose. And so
Right.
when I came to work at Sakara and people were like, well, so and so drinks this. And so, like, that's why I decided, I'm like, what? You believe? I'm like, this is a commercial. This is a like years long orchestrated commercial to create a vision in your mind that you should drink this celery juice or whatever the thing was at the
Yeah.
time. And so I think when you translate that to coaching, I have an inherent skepticism of everything and anything, simply because I've been behind the curtain of marketing since, before some of y'all was born. Probably, I've been working in
Mhm.
marketing since I was 18 years old, which was like, what year was that? 2002. Um, most of it's made up, and not always because it's evil, but because it is marketing.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, God, that is such a good example, or such a good point about how, okay, back in the day, we had page 6, you got People magazine, you maybe got a newsletter, or you looked at a website of some photos from someone's night, or you read a blog post about a smoothie here and there, but it was not in the same way of marketing now, and people selling their products, their programs, their thinking, whatever it might be, on social media. And then
Yeah.
so many personal brands, like personal, health and wellness people talking about something so closely, like to your face in Instagram stories, that it makes you believe. So I never really thought about that. I never really
I
thought about that.
I've thought about it so much, especially because for me, when I left, and this is my own naivete that I'll share, when I left nightlife and hospitality and went to go work in wellness, I was like, I'm going to be with my people. Everybody's going to be meditating and
Mm-hmm.
everybody's going to be this and everybody's going to be that. And I'm not going to name any names or call any individuals out, but I was one of the few people who was like walking the walk and not just like involved in wellness from a branding, marketing, and ooh, wouldn't this be a good thing to do? Or doesn't this look nice? No, like I had gone through some heavy, I mean, we won't go into my childhood trauma, but I was somebody who meditated daily, like was a vegan for 8 years. I am no longer, has done hundreds of hours of yoga teacher training, right? So I come into the world of wellness thinking, oh, this is actually what people do and this is actually how people live. And that's not really the case. I mean, I've been up close and personal with some of the biggest wellness, lifestyle, mindfulness, spirituality influencers that you could name. And not to say that they're all phonies or fakes, but what you see might be anywhere from 10% to 90% of who they are, right? Like some
Mhm.
of them are, none of us are perfect. I'm not nobody is 100% walking the line of wellness and integrity and spirituality all the time. Some people more than others, but there are some people out there who are snorting cocaine and hopping on Instagram to lead a loving kindness meditation. And if you think I'm being sarcastic or exaggerating, I am fucking not. It's
No.
real.
Ah, oh, the way
So
I
there you
am
go.
covering my mouth from shrieking because that is true. That is
Yeah.
true. And these are some of the things that Amanda and I get to talk about behind the scenes or that we have talked about over the
Yeah.
years is oh, that yoga teacher who I really loved. I think they're amazing. Their classes are fantastic. But wow, the way they rage out after being hungover at their
Yeah.
staff the next day. Interesting, interesting.
Yeah.
And it's so good what you're mentioning about, oh, you got into wellness when you left nightlife, you got into the professional world of wellness and thought everyone would be floating around on a cloud and treating each other with such mindfulness and respect and
Mhm.
drinking juice. And that is not the case behind the scenes. I can vouch for that in my experiences as well. And of course, not everybody, but at the end of the day, it's a business, it's a
Mhm.
marketing venture, it is for profit in a way that may or may not, be good. So it's
Yeah.
people need to be mindful of it.
Just like the way people that run cool clubs are not necessarily cool,
Mm-hmm.
right? People that run wellness and people that have wellness personas are not necessarily well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting because I feel like a lot of times the people who may have some work to do around being more in integrity in how they're coaching or being more in integrity around what they offer, sometimes it's like they're doing the thing or working on a thing that they have the least reason to. Like maybe it's their own pain or their own wounding that they are like, I'm going to work on this. And so, moral of the story is we have to encourage critical thinking and encourage
Mm,
self trust, which let's go to that topic a little bit. That's one of the things that I love about you and how you are as a person and what you teach is that self trust and autonomy. So you have gone through so many different spiritual trainings, yoga hours, retreats, and what we see out there a lot of the time is spirituality that is all about the leader or all
mm,
about like the spiritual practice. Pray to this guru outside of
mhm.
yourself. So I think that's such a wonderful thing about you is that self-trust, that autonomy, that personal intuition is how you are and what you teach. Like have you always been that way, girl?
So what I will say is, it used to be in an extreme way. I was like a very rebellious child, teenager, distrusting of authority,
Oh.
very cynical, very skeptical, thought everyone was full of shit. So like I, rather than being like starry-eyed and like wanting somebody to save me, I was sort of a little bit too far in the other extreme, thinking
Mm-hmm.
that everybody was a scammer, just like didn't trust people, fundamentally didn't trust people. And so when I started in the world of spirituality actually in college, I took Robert Thurman's class at Columbia. I started practicing yoga at Columbia. I was deep into drugs, deep into alcohol, deep into an eating disorder. So I needed things that would help pull me out of what I was into. And when I started down that path, I was always I don't want to say it took a lot for me um to invest in what somebody was saying or teaching. I was
Mm-hmm.
really fond of the teachings, the old books, the scripture, like things that had been, like Buddha, right? Like I was very into. So when I went into the yoga world, I didn't, and I won't, once again, I won't name any names. I didn't go into one of those fluffy duffy, like cult of personality yoga schools. I went to Jivamukti. And now, once again, Jivamukti, not to say that it was perfect or didn't have its own problems, but it was very traditional. It was very classical. They chanted in Sanskrit. You had to read the Yoga Sutras, right? It wasn't for me, the way that I, perceived that was like, okay, this is an old system. This is something I can learn from. This is something that I can trust. And I have my own physical autonomy, authority. I don't have to do what a person is telling me. I can take these tools and apply them in the way that makes sense for me. And one of the things that I think is kind of interesting is that people have always wanted to put me in charge of things. I've always been a leader. I've always been a boss. Like I've always been like, when I was in a sorority in college, no, don't judge me, but
Really?
I did not run for president and they elected me president. Like that. So I've watched people want to give their autonomy to me. Like
Mm.
I've witnessed that because I have the opposite, but I've witnessed that urge in other people to be like, somebody tell me what to do, somebody be my boss, somebody help me, right? And when you are in that energy, you will never heal. You will never grow. You will never recover when you are in a subservient energy, when you believe that somebody else is necessary for you to be fixed, quote unquote. Nobody can see me air quoting here. When you're in that subservient energy, you are inherently powerless. You are inherently um, under and less than. And so, when people come to me from a coaching perspective, the number one thing I want to do is point out the places where they're giving power away. I want to point out the places where they are not even playing small, because I think that's an overused thing. And yes, it's real. But when you are assuming that somebody else knows better, when you are assuming that that venture capitalist that invested in your business knows about your business just because they went to Harvard and they have an MBA, or oh, they have this or they have that. I always want to poke holes in that and I always want to question that. And now look, I've had great teachers, I've had great coaches. I've worked with people whose knowledge, wisdom, experience, energy, whatever, I deeply respect. And the number one thing they always say is, it's not about me. It's about the wisdom. It's about the teachings. I might be the one that's telling you this, but it didn't come from me. The wisdom is the wisdom, right? Like whether it's coming from my shamanism teacher, my Buddhism teacher, my executive coach, right? Like people who believe their own hype, you need to be very, very skeptical of. And what's crazy is it's most people these days. It's most people these days.
That is so good. I mean, because a lot of people think of spirituality or wellness, and especially with what we see being sold online as, you tell me you know everything. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, hell no. And I
Yeah.
do think it's a bit of an old school thinking of, hey, take the teachings and do what you will, have your own choice and your decisions and your thoughts and your own flow. And it's something we've seen more recently, like you're saying, online, of everyone's telling you that they know best and that they'll give you the secrets. And that's just not true. It's absolutely not true. So I love that. And I love that about you. So I know that that is one amazing element about you, your spiritual thoughts, how you work, how you lead, and how you coach with people. But let's circle back a minute to say, okay, so you were this executive, you worked in wellness, you did so many different things. How did you decide or flow into coaching?
Yeah, there were kind of two main impetuses. The first was, why did I decide to go to NYU and get a coaching degree? Was I when I transitioned into the corporate world of wellness, there was a real lack of empathetic leadership. There was a real lack of communication skills. And I hate when people say they're an empath, but I fucking am. And it was really hard for me to focus on business objectives, KPIs, OKRs, da 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 da, when I could see that people were suffering as a result of inexperienced leadership,
Mm.
Insensitive leadership, just people so trapped in their own heads and thinking they were so smart because they have an MBA or they did this or they did that. But meanwhile, and anybody who's ever worked for anyone probably resonates with this. I was a VP, right? So I was sat at the table with all the leaders, and our employees didn't trust us. Our employees didn't like us. People were leaving in droves because you had a group of leaders who are more worried about what does the spreadsheet say, what are the sales saying, than how are my people doing? And coming from hospitality, I mean, hospitality has its flaws, but you do have to learn to be a people person. You do have to learn to be a leader who leads people, not just results. Otherwise, shit doesn't work because people have to be in a good mood. There's a lot that goes into it. But so I wanted to be able to improve my company and my situation from within, but I also did not feel that people would listen to me or respect me if I'm like, oh, just listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. Just listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. I was like, no, I know what I'm talking about, but let me go get this piece of paper
Mm-hmm.
so that I can tell people, hey, like this is how you manage somebody. This
Right.
is how you give constructive feedback. This is how you create psychological safety for real
Mm,
in a corporate environment. Because I realized that a company is not going to work without that and without leaders that care about that stuff. I didn't have the time I was already a mom, right? I didn't have the money to go get an MBA or whatever. So for me, I was like, oh, okay, executive coaching, this is a good thing for me to learn so that I can be a better leader and I can be taken more seriously. I just wanted people to listen to me, basically.
mhm.
And so that was why I got the certification. Now, the reason why I decided to actually leave and go off and become a coach was because I had become somebody who everybody came to for different forms of advice, usually related to business, sometimes related to mental health, wellness, et cetera, et cetera. And what I realized was when you work for somebody, when you're internal at somebody's company, there is like this inherent sort of power dynamic where they're the boss, you're the employee, even if you're a C-suite, even if you're an executive, right? They don't want advice from you. They are a little bit defensive, they're a little bit secretive. It's just like it's not a relationship that was conducive to me working my magic in the world. My like magic is that if someone is really vulnerable and honest with me about where they're struggling and where they have weaknesses, I can be like that scaffolding to help make them strong. If I'm working with somebody and they're trying to be put on a great facade, like I know everything, I'm the boss, I'm your CEO, whatever, I can't do my thing. And I didn't like the feeling of, hey, I've got these tools. I've got these great ideas, but you don't want to hear them because then it would be like, oh, well, you know more than me, right? And what happened was a person that I knew very well, her co-founder of this food company, was dealing with severe burnout, heart palpitations. She was like, Amanda, I know you're a coach. Will you coach my co-founder? And I was like, honey, I got a full-time job. I'm working so fucking much.
Mm.
I don't have time for this. She was like, no, no, no. He needs a coach and it has to be you. You're the only person who knows what he's going through. And I was like, okay, fine. I can do it every other Saturday and you got to pay me this much. And they were like, fine. And I did it. And I was like, wow, I got to use all of my skills. I'm talking about business plans. I'm talking about dealing with investors. I'm talking about somatic experiencing and breathing and how to not, have a heart attack because you're working yourself to death. Uh, Nobody gave me any back talk. There was no drama. There was no drama. I did it on my schedule and I got paid for it. And I was like, fuck, I hate coaches. I hate the word coach. I hate that I'm going to be calling myself this. And this is something that I'm really good at and I need to bring it into the world. So that was not even
Yes.
2 years ago. Would you believe that? That was
Wow, really?
yeah,
Oh my
really. I
God.
was still a full-time employee until July 8th of 2022. So
Wow.
yeah,
Gosh, that is so interesting. I remember that. I feel like it was even further long ago. And I
I know.
remember you training through NYU, and I was like,
Well,
oh my
that was
God, so
2018.
cool.
I got the
Okay.
certi
Okay.
I got certified back in 2018.
Yeah.
So that was a while, but I was still, paying the bills, W-2ing life
Hmm.
until 2022.
Yeah. So good about what you're saying as an executive or some kind of manager. People don't want to necessarily like talk about their their dreams and their feelings and their fears. It's just
Yeah.
literally not the place where people
Yeah,
usually feel comfortable with that.
correct.
And how cool for you to see like, oh, these tools, this conversation is what I actually want to be getting into and talking about. And how cool that it happened from the natural place of you having worked and been in wonderful positions, and then people asking you,
Yeah.
oh, can you do this? Not from, like I was saying, oh, I'm a sad I'm a
Yeah.
sad loser, and nothing's working, so I should be
Yeah.
a coach. As far as choosing the career as the way for someone to get money or happiness or find a
Yeah.
purpose.
I think it's so interesting. And I would encourage people to think like, if this person wasn't my coach, what might they be doing instead? And the answer for me is like, I'd be a COO, so or a CMO. I'd be, running a business. I would have less freedom, less autonomy. But that's what I would be doing, right? If your coach would be like, like working at the mall, no offense to people that work at the mall, it's really important to think like I think the word coach has to come after something, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not a standalone term. So it's funny. I was having this conversation with the girl that owns my eyebrow studio about how she wants, she was thinking about getting a coaching certification. And I was saying, well, you've opened and run a successful small business as a solopreneur running an eyebrow studio, right? You pay the bills, you manage the books, you do the marketing, you do the social media. If you become a coach, you should coach other people who want to open nail salons, hair salons, eyebrows, right? Like take a skill that you already have, and it could truly be any skill. Put that together with coaching. That's a career with integrity, with a
Mm-hmm.
market that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just I'm a coach, but there's not like a something preceding that, like you could be a marketing coach, you could be a, whatever. There's lots of different ways that you can make coaching a real, legitimate career that benefits people. But there's lots of ways that you can become a coach without it benefiting, without it being a
Mm-hmm.
real vocation.
And what you said, how coaching is not kind of a standalone thing, that it has to come after something, is like, yes, so true. And I think like you're such a good example of that. I have other like friends or people I've worked with in some capacity that I think of that it has been a natural add on of what they have already been doing. And one of the things that I like to say is like coaching is a tool, it's a vehicle.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's like, hey, chopping, I'm a chopper, I have a knife and I chop. And so that can be used in many different places or ways. It's not just, hey, anyone need coaching? It's just
Yeah.
not, it doesn't make sense. It's just not really how it goes. So really cool to hear about how you moved into that and your training and how you have naturally moved into coaching, even though you hate the word coaching, but that is who you are and what you
Yeah.
do. So, very cool to hear about. So, what I would love to talk about more with you is you're one of the people that comes to mind that doesn't use cheesy, creepy, douchey marketing tactics or digital marketing creepiness. And yet you have a great practice and you have clients and it's working for you. So, did you ever like lean into creepy marketing practices, or
No.
how has that been for you?
Yeah, so there's kind of two things that I will say. And one of them would be helpful for everybody and one of them won't be. And so the less helpful thing is I've literally been in business for 20 years. So like I would always say to people like my LinkedIn is more impressive than my Instagram because I'm a real businesswoman. So, I've got tons and tons of connections with people who are actual CEOs, who are actual, top people. And so I've earned a lot of respect in terms of what I've accomplished, the people that I've interacted with. I've also been a really good human throughout my
Mm-hmm.
career as a
I could vouch
businesswoman.
for
There's
that.
there's
Seriously.
nobody that I've done business with. There's nobody that I've managed, even like interns. Actually, one of my coaching clients was a former intern. I've sowed good seeds professionally for a long, long time, and it's paid dividends for me. My very first paid coaching client is this girl. She was the CEO of a wellness company that later got acquired. But when I was working at Sakara, she had just put her deck together. I was a VP, so I didn't know her. She emailed me and said, would you mind? Can I pick your brain? Coffee chat, blah, 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 blah. And I said, sure. I was always willing to do that for people for free. As the day that I posted on LinkedIn, hey, I'm a coach, she signed up for, a 6-month package with me. And I ended up coaching her for more than 2 years until she sold her business. So, that is how my business is sustained really through word of mouth and through if someone does see my marketing, which is not scammy or crazy or whatever, and they said, "Hey, who is this person connected with?" Oh, okay. Oh, let me ask three people that I happen to know that she's connected with. Oh yeah, she's legit, right? Like I actually have a business background that's kind of precedes me. The other thing I will say is, depending on what you are coaching people on and in, if people don't respect me, I cannot coach them. If people think that I am not mature, intelligent, articulate. Now, I'm a goof. Like I don't have like some like really buttoned up executive personality because that's not me. But I also never post anything that's like cheesy or aggressive or like I don't know, something that you'd be like, oh, right? Because the thing is, like, if you hire me, you need to respect me because you're going to allow me into the inner workings of your brain, your business, et cetera, et cetera. And so for me, like a tactic that might get me more reach, might get me more visibility, if it is going to detract from someone who is going to invest good money in hiring me, from seeing me as their peer, their equal, someone that they want to learn from, it's not, the juice is not worth the squeeze for me. And so what that means is I do have to engage in different forms of remaining relevant in conversation. And that's going to look different for everybody depending on what your business is. And I don't want to say, well, I will say it, like if you don't have any credentials, and if you don't have a network of people willing to vouch for your services, the only other option is to do scammy growth marketing stuff. And look, if you want to be a growth marketer or a digital marketer or whatever, phenomenal, do it, be it. But that's not a coach. And teaching people to do growth marketing, and sometimes people hire me because I say I'm an executive coach. They're like, "Oh, you're a business coach, so you're going to help me like build funnels and do ads." And I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. I build real businesses, businesses with teams and QuickBooks and, that pay taxes and whatever, like
Mhm.
HR departments. Like I know how to build real businesses. I'm not helping someone build funnels to sell funnels to funnels for funnels, right? Like I don't even know how that, I kind of know how it works because I oversaw email marketing in Cigar, but like, I don't even want to know how it works. If I had to do that to sustain my business, and that's not to say I'm never going to have a more mass offering that is going to require me to put together an email funnel and da 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 da. But no, if you can, the best way to grow is by word of mouth.
Mhm.
I feel like all of my leads are hot. Like, people talk about cold leads, warm leads, hot leads. All of my leads are hot. Anybody that gets on the phone with me has heard something positive about me from somebody who actually either knows me or has been coached by me. And so I don't need to work that hard to market.
Mhm. Yes, and I just could jump up and down at what you said. And two things that especially stuck out was you saying you have to have credentials. Like, from your personal experiences, like the jobs that you've had at a bare minimum, and then like training, some
Yeah.
kind of actual credentials. I mean, how could somebody go get a job and just say, nope, never done it before, don't know anyone who has, no reason to have me do this,
Yeah.
but hey, yeah, I'm the best person for this? It just doesn't make any sense. So you said credentials, and then kind of like a community, or people who have been climbing
Network. Yeah.
the network
Yeah.
who can vouch for you. And I feel like in the day and age of the internet, people are forgetting that word of mouth is so important.
Yeah.
People who have just worked with you, who have loved it, who just naturally recommend you. It's almost like now people are just trying to take and get all they can from strangers online, and try and
Yeah.
get money, versus
Yeah.
building a true network and word of mouth. And word of mouth is like the most important thing in business.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because most of the people that I coach are entrepreneurs who have like actively running businesses, a handful to many employees, people anywhere from 2 to 2,000 employees, right? Like small to medium-sized businesses. But occasionally I do coach solopreneurs or people that are just getting their business started. And I had a woman that I coach, and actually her business is doing very well. I'm very excited for her. But she came in thinking that she had to do a lot of the things that she saw online in terms of the way that people market, in terms of paying for ads, in terms of do. And I said, look, you are starting an agency where your retainers are thousands of dollars a month, as they should be. She does real business. She does real business development for creative and design agencies, which she had a 10-year career doing previously. Um, you're not in a volume business. You don't need to do any of that. I don't need to do any of that. And so the internet has really skewed our understanding of what a business is, not only because most people, and I will say this, I know intimately the finances of people who have 5, 10, 20, 100 times as many Instagram followers as I have, who are not making money, who do not have a legitimate business. I just saw, I mean, this is an aside, but I saw a woman today, 500,000 Instagram followers, posting that she needed to GoFundMe so people could help pay for her kid's birthday party, right? The things that matter are not the things that matter on the internet, right? And
Yeah.
like it's really hard to convince people of that because the internet has become like there's two worlds, right? There's like the real world and then there's the internet world. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I care about the internet. I love my dopamine hits. I love it when I get a little like, little comment, you know? But at the end of the day, like I want to do good work. I want to go to bed at night respecting myself, and I want to make money. I got 2 kids, I'm trying to live. Um, if that means that my following or my social or my whatever, like those metrics are less invested in, so be it. And for people looking to start a business, right? Like you might make more money doing something that has a very small niche following and a very small, but something that people actually need and are willing to pay for versus look at me, I've built this like
Mhm.
internet thing. It's like a sim business. I built a sim business.
Yeah, Simtown. They built a
Yeah,
Simtown.
I built a sim
That's so
town.
true. It's so true. It's like
Yeah,
people are focused more on the Simtown, on the
yeah.
little virtual, here's my little
Mhm.
meta wonderland,
Yes.
versus, hey, what are the core principles of business?
Yeah. And what do I
Of
want in my life? It blows me away. And I'm so glad that I've had access to super successful people in my life, quote unquote successful, right? That have had the things that maybe all of us dream about, big followings, big whatever, book deals, this, that, the other. And seeing the lack of satisfaction, seeing the lack of actual like financial security that
Mhm,
sometimes comes from those things, it's allowed me to not be like, gee, I wonder. Because I don't wonder. I know.
mhm.
I know I'm doing better than them.
Absolutely. And I've seen the same thing just over the years, being in online business and marketing and wellness, and having maybe like good friends who have hundreds of thousands of Instagram followers, but they are not able to monetize on it,
Yeah.
or they're not really enjoying themselves, or it's
Yeah.
not a real business.
And I want to talk about the word monetize because I think that the days of I'm going to build an audience and then I'm going to monetize it are kind of over. I
Mhm.
had a client, so I have a client, she actually runs a DJ agency. She's a manager and she reps like big DJs that get, 6-figure contracts and whatever. And she also has like some courses that she does. So she has like the, high touch management courses, etc. And she was talking to a friend who works at McKinsey, and she was like, the best business is the one that you don't have to be involved in at all. It's just set it and forget it. And that doesn't exist anymore. I know that Jenna Kutcher and like people like that would love for us to believe that that is true, but it's not. It's not real anymore. Even people that have massive followings, in order for them to quote unquote monetize their audience, two things need to be true. One, they're probably spending a shit ton of money on advertising, marketing, packaging, videoing, all that stuff, which is quite labor intensive, right? And then the second thing is their audience needs to have already implicitly agreed that there was going to be a financial transaction for that relationship at some
Yeah.
point, which usually there has not been, right? The internet is primarily a tool of entertainment that we try to sneak marketing into, right? People want to follow funny accounts that entertain them. And if you build a big following because your content's good and then boom, out of left field, hey, I'm selling you this.
Hmm.
It's not going to be like all of a sudden all these people who came to you for the lols or the oh, I feel scenes are going to be like, yeah, let me give you some money, right? So it's a trap to think that you're going to be able to monetize something that wasn't created initially
Yeah.
for monetization purpose, right? Like if you're a content creator, like you're probably going to get more money from brand deals than
Hmm.
you are from your community and your audience because there isn't that implicit agreement up front. Hey, I came to you for entertainment. Now you're trying to sell me something that doesn't work anymore. And
Totally.
another reason is because think about, there was a goal, there was a sweet spot, right? When all those people like the Jenna Kutchers of the world, came up where you could do that because there wasn't a lot of people doing it. Well, now they've rinsed and repeated times 86 billion people on the internet. Everybody's got a course. Everybody got a Patreon.
Everybody.
Everybody's got one. I'm hoping that will send a lot of people back the other way. How do I create something real? Because
Hmm.
the Sim Cities are not monetizing like they used to.
The Sim Cities. Oh my God. I'm just gonna laugh about the Sim Cities
That's gonna be our new
forever.
thing.
Seriously, Sim Cities
Yeah,
everywhere. But
yeah,
it's so true. And I know that you and I have kind of like seen it behind the scenes and over the years, but even in my own like personal experience, that I mean, just to say something for just a minute, like even with the following that I have, I could much easier, and that is the majority of the way that I make money, is get one-on-one clients or social media management clients and get a high
yeah,
ticket client that
yep,
way, where
yep.
a I am actually working with them, I'm
Hmm.
actually sitting with them, I'm actually doing a service, and
Yeah,
it's not some passive blah blah blah. But we
yeah,
think, oh, build an audience and then you'll just sell a course or have everybody monetize on it, and it doesn't work anymore. It's sim
no,
towny and everyone's blown out by it.
yeah,
And the other thing is now we have like YouTube or
yep,
tons of free content where
yep,
people get ad revenue,
yeah,
and we have to compete with that now. So it's just this a bit of a false dream of the sim town and monetizing on it.
yeah,
And I honestly think, and I'm curious to hear what you think, that people will be coming back to more service-based businesses, more personal, heartfelt, real connection, like going to an actual yoga class or sitting
yeah,
down in actual session with someone, or I don't know, like, hammering something on someone's wall
right,
and
yeah.
focusing on those businesses.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I think, after like the post-COVID era, people are shifting back more to like IRL life and
Hmm.
experiences. But I think we've tipped the shark in terms of how many digital products can be created. I think the people, unfortunately, that are still kind of trying to ride that train are people who are gullible, desperate, and unfortunately being preyed upon, as you talk about, right? The people that are more in my community, the people that I talk to, and these are women who have, right, 100, 200, 300, 500, whatever, people that have a big Instagram following, but are also doing like good work in the world.
Yeah.
They're all sort of pivoting to where they're doing, and I hate the term high ticket, but let's
Hmm.
say personalized, bespoke, right? More
Totally.
bespoke work and then free. They do the free course or the free masterclass to get people to convert into a retreat or a one-on-one or a group. And I think there is beautiful work being done in group sessions, group
Yeah.
coaching, group this, group that, right? Where it's, somewhat less than, let's say, less than 30 people, right? A manageable group where you're getting a moderate amount of personalized attention, you're getting education, but it's not just like PDFs and like clickable stuff. I think there's be I don't I do think that you can get a lot of value from that because there's still that element of accountability, community. There's a lot of things that you get from one-on-one coaching. And
Mhm.
and not everybody, first of all, not everybody needs a coach. Not everybody could afford a coach, even if they do need them. And so I think there are services that are sort of in the middle.
Mhm.
But there, if you're thinking about like, well, what do I want to do professionally? There are so many other things to do that I think we've just forgotten about, that
Yeah.
we've forgotten are of value. And I actually think like finding something that is more specific and less general is a way to win, right? Like calling yourself a life coach, good fucking luck, because there's 86 million people that call themselves a life coach.
Yeah.
But if I had a client who she had been a in she was a social worker, but she worked like for the government, kind of like a big job in the social work space. She decided to become a parenting coach, very specifically working for people whose kids were having different types of emotional issues, right? Super specific. And she was able to build not a wild business, but like a sustainable business immediately because she knew the problem she was solving and what she was offering. And it wasn't just life. I'm solving life.
Yes, I'll help you with
Mhm.
anything. Here we
Yeah.
go. And I think that's true too in most business. So if I said I'm a yoga teacher, I'll just do yoga for anything. But if I say if you are stressed the F out, if you
Yep.
are like literally you need to put the phone down and let's do a yin class or we're going to chill and do meditation and focus on chilling the F out. That's so much more specific. It's so much
Yeah.
more like, okay, I understand that. I will sign up for that. So we don't
Yeah.
want to be these big general things and we don't want to be the big sim towns.
Yeah.
It's
And
all sim general.
yeah, there was something I heard that I was like, oh, I have to share this with Eva. So I was listening to, I don't even know what podcast I was listening to, but it was talking about how it's something related to the nervous system, because I'm a somatic experiencing person. And it was talking about how in dating, that when you feel like really intense butterflies, like, oh, like, oh, that like really activated feeling, that's not romance, that's you should run, right? And the same is true when you are thinking about, do I want to hire this person? Do I want to work with this person? Do I want to go on their retreat? Do I want to invest in their course? If you get that like, oh my God, shaky panic feeling, like that's a red flag that something in their marketing, something in the way that they're talking to you. And there's a reason why there's like, specific tropes that a lot of people in the coaching world use, because they are being psychologically manipulative. And so if you feel that feeling, because I felt it like the other day, I don't even know what I was watching. There was some course that was being talked about, and I was like, oh my God, like Jesus, she's good at this. I knew what she was doing. Like I knew that it was, manipulating, and I knew it had been targeted to me, but I still felt that trigger. And of course she was like beautiful and blonde. You know what I mean? So it was like all the things like, oh, she's pretty. Oh my God, she's talking to me. Right. But then you get into the room with the person and it's like, wait, why did I ever think that this person would be able to help me feel safe in my body and help me like progress and feel good about myself? No, they make me feel nervous and shaky and anxious and triggered. And now I've paid them $3,000 and fuck,
Yes, there is a couple therapists, like Melissa Lapidez is a trauma therapist, and she has talked a lot about this of how a lot of people are triggering that response or like trauma bonding, even of,
Yes.
oh my God, I feel nervous. And should I do this? And I'm so excited. And I'm on the edge of the cliff. And should I sign up? And they prey upon that. So,
Yes.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh. And it happens to all of us.
Yeah.
If I visited Italy and I am single, so if a hot man was like, oh my God, I love you and this is it, and let's live
Yeah.
together forever, and I'm like, oh God, should I do it? It
Yeah.
happens. It really
It
happens, and it
happens.
happens in marketing. It for sure does.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's beware of that. Beware of that, everyone.
Hmm.
So as we wrap up, I have one more little topic I'd love to hit on. And this is something you and I are so down about as far as, you know, so who you are as a person and what we've talked about as far as how you work with people and your spiritual practices and beliefs about, as I was mentioning before, coming back to yourself, coming back to not giving your power away.
Yeah.
And I know that we've talked about when you are working with someone or someone's considering working with you, that you always focus on autonomy and them making their own decisions, which is the
Yeah.
opposite of that kind of marketing
Mhm.
we were mentioning, or the opposite of so many tactics that people are told to do on discovery calls. So
Yeah.
tell me about that for you.
Yeah. Well, there's kind of two things I'll say. One is like a tactical strategic thing, and one is more of like a just human kind of thing. Um, when you are putting pressure on somebody, you're creating a dynamic that will not serve the coaching relationship in at all, right? And even like so when my first roles with Tao Group, I did event sales, right? And what I would always say about event sales as opposed to like selling a car, right? If I sell someone an event, right? I get them to book an event with me. That doesn't mean, okay, I'm done. I did my sale. No, that is day one of our relationship. So if I engage in abusive, manipulative pricing or tactics, I've got to fucking work with that person for the next however many months, with them either realizing that I was a charlatan, feeling I would never want to book someone at a certain price point or at a certain date. They hire me as a coach, and then the whole time they're thinking, fuck, why did I spend this much? Fuck, oh my God, I shouldn't have done that. Like, I would never want someone to enter, just like you wouldn't want someone to enter a dating relationship with you that you had to strong arm them to be a part of. Coaching only works when two parties are completely autonomous and in choice to work with one another. And so for me, like, if I allow the wrong person to hire me, and I say the wrong person for any reason, it is not enjoyable for me as a coach, and it's not as effective for them as a client. And some of the wrong reasons, like in terms of my business, um if like there are like if they've said they want to launch a business, but they actually don't have time, or they're actually don't have the energy, you know what I mean? And then they've like hired me, and I'm like, okay, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you gotta do this, and they're like, fuck, I can't actually do that, right? um Sometimes people that run businesses like kind of run out of money, and I let people out of contracts. I let people out of I mean, people have to pay me for the services that I've rendered, but if someone signs on for 6 months and their business is going out of business, I'm not gonna be like, well, sorry, still gotta pay me. I don't want to fucking show up on the phone with
Right,
somebody who's going bankrupt.
right, right.
Hey, pay me my money. I don't care if your
What?
business is going bankrupt. Let me tell you how to fix it. No, no. But so if you are like, yes, I got them to say yes, and then you know that they like maxed out their credit card or whatever to fucking pay you, you are not a coach. You're a scammer. You're a salesperson. And the truth is, like, if you want to be a salesperson, be a salesperson. I was a salesperson for a long time. It can be an incredibly honorable thing to do as long as you're in integrity with the sale. So that's like the person side. From the tactical sales side, if you are in a position where you constantly have to be aggressive with people about booking you at a certain price, et cetera, either you need to change what you're offering, you need to change the price, you need to change something, because it shouldn't be that hard. You shouldn't have to force people to buy. You might like I follow up with people once and that's it. I only follow up with people once. It's kind of like if you wanted to buy something that was a little bit out of your budget, you wouldn't need someone to twist your arm to do it if you really fucking wanted those shoes. If somebody really wants to work with me, and I don't offer discounts, I offer other pricing. I do offer different pricing for different people in different scenarios based on what they need, da 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 da. But I also have a bottom line, right? But if someone really wants to work with me and it's not actually going to put them in some type of financial scarcity, they will follow up.
Totally.
I do not want to be in relationship with somebody, professional or otherwise, who had to be like beat over the head and manipulated and twisted. So
Hmm.
if you're feeling like you always have to do that, something is wrong. You're either charging too much, you're offering a service that is not applicable to the people that you're offering it to. It's on you, it's not on the client.
Absolutely. I hope everyone got all that. And some of the things that stand out to me, what you're saying is it's the opposite of coaching. It's the opposite of a beneficial, good, therapeutic
Yep.
relationship to start the coaching process by pressuring,
Yeah.
stressing, putting them into financial ruin, if that's the case,
Stupid.
having them trust you versus themselves,
Yeah. I'm going to help you
going against
unleash
their
your
values.
power. Yeah. I'm going to
What?
help you unleash your power. But first, give all your
Yeah.
power away to me.
Yeah. And it's so wild. I see with the weird stuff people have sent me online, or maybe in a post in a Facebook group of, oh, my client wants to leave but they're in a year contract for coaching, and then they're going to pressure them to stay. Like, how
Yeah.
is that
No.
going to go down? I
Yeah.
mean, how awkward would that be? How horrible. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, of course, if you have enough demand and clients who are enjoying your services, you can find someone else and not have to have someone come and sit there with you. The whole thing doesn't,
It's
it's stupid.
it's ridiculous. And the thing is, like, there are limits to generosity, and there have to be like boundaries and
Totally.
whatever. But if somebody like coaching is like going on a date in some way. I
Mhm.
mean, it's not, yeah, I don't mean
No,
it
for
like that.
sure.
I'm not one of those coaches, but like if you're just like, I don't care if you don't like me anymore, and I don't care if you can't afford this dinner, you are going to sit across the table from me and we are going to do this. What? I would, I literally, the thought of being on a coaching call with someone who didn't want to be on a call with me is
Yeah,
like my skin would crawl. Like, no, 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 no. Like, it's,
absolutely.
yeah.
Like if you are dating someone and you put a kind of a weird fake picture and then you followed up with them 20 times and you pressured them and you told them they cannot get up and leave from the table. And if they do, they have a mindset block. Like, how is that going to be a good relationship? It doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense. And
It,
so
yeah.
what is going on, people?
It doesn't make any sense. And also, like, I want, because I know that people are doing this. If you are receiving marketing from somebody that feels manipulative, aggressive, even just repetitive and annoying, do you really want to learn anything
Hmm.
from them other than how to be manipulative, repetitive, annoying in marketing? And you might want to learn that.
Hmm.
If you want to learn that, go and get coached by the most annoying person you can find on the internet because they'll teach you well. Otherwise, you think they're going to teach you an abundance mindset? No, they're going to teach you exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like going to a yoga class and hating everything the yoga teacher taught, but then saying, but I'll take their training because they'll probably learn something else. No, you're going to learn
Right.
how to do that. Maybe they yelled
Yeah.
at you in class. So it's kind of seeing, like, do I want to learn to do what they're doing? Is it working
Yeah.
for me? Do I enjoy it? So, yeah, oh my gosh, people, what in the world is going on out there? I don't know. So, what do you kind of think? And I swear this is my last question. What do you kind of think the future of coaching is going to look like? Like, where is it heading?
Yeah. In some ways, I think the industry will contract simply because it has to. And I hope that people will get more specialized and more credentialed in
Yeah.
terms of I am going to not only double down on the skill and the practice of coaching, I'm going to really learn nutrition, or I'm going to really learn. I have a client who runs a fitness coaching business, and she's got a really big and really good business. She was a professional bodybuilder. She took bodybuilding, she turned it into coaching, she made it a thing. She gives people value. It's a beautiful business. Mwah, amen. Right. If you've been a mechanic, right? Let's say you're a mechanic and you're like, I've reached the most I can make as a mechanic. I'm going to coach other people how to open mechanic shops or whatever the thing is. It doesn't need to be the thing that everybody is coaching on. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you're a stay-at-home mom and you're really good at making dinner for your kids every night and somehow you've figured out how to recipe, like I have a friend, this is a true story. I have a friend, she's a teacher, she lives in Nashville. This motherfucker has a meal plan for her kids. It's every week. I don't know how she does it, but she figures it out and she grocery shops and she's not rich. And I was like, you could coach people how to do this. This is something that people actually like want and need to learn how to do because groceries cost too much. You can't be going out to eat. You want your kids to be
Mm-hmm.
healthy, right? If you have a skill of any kind and you want to make more money than that skill inherently offers, like cooking your kids dinner, get a coaching certification, put it together. Boom, you're helping people. You're
Mm-hmm.
making magic and you're making money, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's I could give a million examples of that, but I think that's what people need to think about. Where, it's that stupid quote, like, where does your passion and what the world needs intersect? But it's kind of true,
Yeah.
right? Like there has to be an offering that exists, right? Like now everybody's selling like what's it called? Digital marketing rights or whatever it's called. You know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about?
MRR.
MRR. It's not, it's no, there's no there there. There is
There's
no
no there.
there there. So if you're a gardener and you really know, guess what? I would hire a gardening coach. I would, if someone is a gardening coach, I need to learn. I suck. And I would hire someone as a garden coach. And guess what? You're a little hobbyist and you're good at, whatever. Like it's not that coaching needs to go away. It's that coaching needs to actually, it's like become a basketball coach, a football coach, an executive coach, not just a coaching coach,
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I hope the industry goes.
It's like people are already good at or doing something that they have experience in. They can get training and then offer it,
Yes.
and it's something small on the side. It's not this, oh
Yeah.
my God, am I going to jump in and win the lottery?
Yeah.
That just
Yeah.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But I
And
do think people will start to do more of that online and make more money or do
yeah.
more small entrepreneurship to start.
Yeah. And the last thing that I want to say, because I know that your audience are people, many of whom are either are coaches or thinking about becoming coaches or have been scammed by coaches. If you are not coaching an audience that has disposable income or whatever and can afford coaching at a certain price, you are going to have to become aggressive and abusive and scammy. Like most of my clients pay me through a business that is
Mm-hmm.
actually making 8 or 9 figures a year and employs humans and like sell like has it's not like a 7-figure business, like real actual businesses, products that you've bought, things you see at the store, right? And so I can charge a living, healthy wage, not only because I have credentials and experience, but because the target audience that I'm
Mm-hmm.
coaching, they are not putting themselves out to pay me. They're not even paying me out of their pocket 80% of the time. It is a business expense, just like they'd hire a PR agency, just like they'd hire a lawyer or an HR, person. I had someone that wanted to hire me to coach her who does breathwork facilitation and is also an activist. And I said to her, I'll do a free like 1 hour thing with you to just talk about business fundamentals, but your business is never going to, if you're going to do that, it is never going to generate the revenue that would be indicative of you needing a coach like me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want to create a business breathwork course and then do digital marketing and like somehow figure out how to scale it, there might be somebody that could help you with that. I'm not saying that you can't make a lot of money doing breathwork. You could, but not in the way she's doing it, not in facilitating community breathwork circles and charging sliding scale. Guess what? You don't need me, and I don't want to take your money.
Right.
You don't need to pay for me. You know who needs to
Right.
pay for me? A CEO of a 30 under 30 startup that has raised $10 million in venture capital and has no fucking clue what they're doing
Yeah.
and can easily afford it. That's who needs me. And
Yeah.
so if you want to coach, in a certain niche, just know that not everybody has nor should spend enough money to make you a living
Mm-hmm.
just because you decided that you wanted to coach them.
Amen. Seriously, it's not, they don't have a mindset block. Like
Nah,
if you're coaching, like, I don't know,
they got a budget.
unemployed kids who just graduated college, and then you're
Yep.
saying it's $5,000, and if you don't pay, you have a mindset issue. You have to
Yeah.
be a smart business person to say what business or person or industry has the funds. In the same way, if I do social media management, I'm not going to say, hey, do you want this $2,000 package to a really small yoga
Yeah.
teacher? I'm going to
Yeah.
go to a vitamin brand and say,
Right.
hey, if you have this in your budget and this
And
makes
they
sense,
do.
and they do, and they
Yeah.
want to, because
Yeah.
they genuinely have it in their budget, and it's a grounded financial choice,
Yeah.
etc. So
Money is
yeah.
actually real. I know that some people have liked to say that money is just like money is just an energy. What is
It's
our Kate
energy,
Northrup?
honey.
It's just an energy, but money is real. Because I will say, I used to not have money and now I have some money. So I remember when I did not make money and I didn't, couldn't afford things and was not able to hire a coach. And now I'm in a position where I
Yeah.
can hire people to support me. And so money is real and you shouldn't try and convince people that it's not just because you need to make
Seriously.
10K months or whatever.
Yes. You should not be
Uh,
convincing people that money isn't real. Oh my gosh. Well, I could talk to you
I
forever,
know.
friend. Where can people find you on the internet or Instagram?
Yeah. So my name, Amanda Baudier, Baudier. That is my website. That is my Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn. I don't use TikTok. I actually don't LinkedIn that much because it's just such a boring fucking platform. But those are the two places that you can find me. And then my podcast is Full Plate, Full Cup. So I got a full plate. I'm busy. I'm an executive. I'm a leader. I'm an entrepreneur, but I also want to keep a full cup. I don't want to be, burned out and overwhelmed. So our podcast is everywhere you find podcasts under Full Plate, Full Cup. And it's all stories of people who have managed to build a career, a business, something. And, the lessons that they learned, both personal and professional. So it's a good
I love
show.
that. I love
Yeah.
that. Well, everyone can check out the show notes for the links and where to find Amanda. And thanks so much for hanging
Uh,
today.
my pleasure. I could talk to you all day.
Yes. Well, bye, everyone, and we'll see you on the next episode.